Thank you all for coming back to the channel. Today, we continue following a love story filled with deep emotion between a handsome CEO and a strong, resilient young woman named Diep. Their love has endured countless trials, misunderstandings, and tears. But in the end, they found their way back to each other, as if destiny itself wanted to mend the pain they both once carried. After a brief moment of peace, James and Diep lived simply, cherishing every second together, as if they feared that happiness might slip away at any moment. But life is never predictable. A string of mysterious thefts began to occur near the forest, where James's company factory was located. Though he had already sent people to investigate, his instincts wouldn't let him rest. Carrying the weight of responsibility as always, James decided to go there himself that night. And that night, everything changed. While following a trail through the cold mist, he was suddenly ambushed. A heavy blow from behind sent him tumbling down a steep, dark slope. After that, he was gone. No signal, no trace. No word from him again. At home, Diep waited. She called dozens of times, only to hear the same cold, mechanical voice. The number you have dialed is currently unreachable. The beeping sound echoed like a knife cutting deeper into her anxious heart. A night longer than a century passed. The little house was lit only by a flickering yellow lamp, casting the shadow of a motionless girl with swollen eyes, still waiting. Outside, the wind howled through the cracks in the door. The curtain swayed gently, as if someone had just walked by. But no, it was only the illusion of fear devouring her from within. She called again, for the 30th time. Each press of her trembling finger was a spark of hope that faded into silence. No message, no call. No sign of James, the man she believed would always find his way back to her, even if only by a small miracle. And then, in the biting chill of dawn, Diep put on a thin coat and stepped outside. She couldn't wait any longer. Every step along the misty red dirt road was a whisper of his name. Ahead, the first light of morning crept over the horizon, but inside her heart, the sky was still gray with fear. Where was James? Was he still alive? And could love once again be strong enough to pull them through the edge of life and death? The answer will come in the next episodes. But today, let's find out what really happened to James. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss a single moment of this heart-wrenching, breathtaking love story. The road to James's house wasn't far, yet today, every step Diep took felt like an endless journey. Not because of the distance, but because of the fear piling up in her heart. She passed the familiar streetlights, the small market still shrouded in early morning mist. Her footsteps echoed softly, lonely against the silence, as if the whole world were listening to the quiet panic of a heart that refused to calm. When she reached the bridge where James once waited for her under the first summer rain, Diep stopped. The damp air clung to the wooden planks, cold and slick, like her trembling hands. She closed her eyes for a moment, drew a deep breath, and kept walking, as if standing still any longer would make her lose the courage to go on. Each step was a prayer, each breath a whispered call carried by the wind. James, where are you? Finally, the familiar house came into view. The old green gate was still there, ivy crawling across the wall just as it always had. But there were no birds singing, no scent of the pastries his mother used to bake. Only an unnatural silence, heavy enough to choke the air. Diep stood at the gate. Her hand trembled as she reached to knock. She lifted her arm, then let it fall. Her heart pounded wildly, a frantic rhythm that seemed to warn of something terrible. Taking one last deep breath, she pushed the gate open. The hinges groaned, a harsh, weary sound that echoed like a sigh in the wind. The yard was cold and empty. Diep stepped carefully, afraid even her footsteps might shatter the silence. When the front door creaked open, it wasn't James who appeared, but his mother. The once gentle face was now pale, lined with exhaustion and sleepless nights. "Miss Diep." Her voice trembled. "I haven't heard from him either. Yesterday he said he was going to inspect the factory, and then no one's seen him since." The words fell into the air like a blade of ice. Diep felt her chest tighten. Her hands clenched so hard, her nails pressed into her skin. The small living room was filled with a suffocating silence, only the slow ticking of a clock breaking it apart, 1 second at a time. 2 women, a mother and a lover, sat across from each other. Between them was a heavy stillness, thick with fear. The clock ticked again, slow, deliberate, relentless. Each sound sliced through the quiet like a knife. In that moment, both women understood. The fear they'd been denying might already be real. Outside, the sky stayed gray. A cold gust swept through the window, stirring the curtain just slightly. And so they waited, in silence, for a call, a message, a miracle, something, anything that could bring James home before the night fell once more. As for James, in the cold darkness of that night, the blow from behind came too fast for him to react. Everything around him spun violently before fading into a dense, suffocating fog. His body lost all control as he tumbled down the rocky slope, crashing through dirt and roots until a dull, final thud echoed. Then silence. The darkness swallowed everything. He lay motionless deep within the forest, surrounded only by wind and the biting chill that crept through the trees. Blood trickled from the wound on his temple, staining his collar. Every so often, a faint twitch crossed his body, then stillness again. Teetering on the edge between life and death, James no longer knew if he truly existed or had already vanished from this world. By dawn, the sun had yet to rise and the fog still clung thick to the grass. An old herbalist, a woman from a nearby village at the mountain's foot, followed her usual trail when she stopped suddenly. In the distance, amid the dew-drenched trees, she spotted a figure lying still. Heart pounding, she hurried closer and gasped. A young man, his clothes torn, face covered in mud and dried blood. Without hesitation, she shouted for help, calling to the nearby villagers. Within minutes, 3 men arrived, and together they carried James down to a small wooden hut nestled along the hillside. That night, he remained unconscious. His breathing was faint but steady. The old woman wiped his forehead, covered him with a blanket, and left a bowl of thin porridge by the bed. Every so often, she sat quietly beside him, murmuring prayers under her breath. Outside, the wind sighed through the cracks of the wooden walls. and the creaking of bamboo echoed like a mother's distant plea to the heavens. When the first light of dawn crept into the room, James stirred. Pain shot through his temple, forcing a grimace. His eyelids felt heavy, but slowly they opened. Dim light blurred his vision. The wooden ceiling, the faint scent of herbs, the flicker of life returning. He reached up and touched the rough bandage on his head. In an instant, memories flooded back. The forest, the blow, the fall, the darkness. His pulse raced, confusion clouding the line between dream and reality. The old woman entered, smiling kindly. "You're awake," she said softly. "You were unconscious all night. We brought you here and called a doctor to tend your wounds." James nodded weakly, his voice hoarse. He glanced around for his phone. Dead battery. It wasn't until they took him to the nearby clinic that he finally regained signal. The screen lit up. Dozens of missed calls. From his mother and from Diep. His throat tightened. He quickly dialed both numbers, assuring them in a faint, trembling voice not to worry. That single call felt like a miracle, reviving two hearts that had been crushed by fear. Moments later, Diep followed the directions she was given, rushing to the small clinic where James was being cared for. The door creaked open softly. Morning light slipped through the window, falling gently across the small bed where James lay. He was still asleep, his breathing faint, his face pale and marked by exhaustion after a long, restless night. A fresh white bandage wrapped around his forehead, stained faintly with traces of dried blood. His hair was tousled, his collar still dusted with bits of dried earth, the last remnants of that fateful fall. Diep stood still for a long moment, her gaze fixed on him. Every fear, every sleepless night, every silent tear, all came rushing back at once. She bit her lip and stepped closer, sitting quietly at the edge of the bed. She didn't wake him. She just sat there, watching the familiar face she had once thought she'd lost forever. The morning light glimmered on his eyelashes as they trembled faintly. Her fingers reached out, brushing lightly against his hand. The same hand that once held hers through every storm, now cold and frail. "You have no idea how scared I was." The words never left her lips, but echoed silently in her chest. Moments later, James stirred. His eyelids fluttered, then slowly opened, hazy and uncertain, until his gaze met hers. For a heartbeat, the world went completely still. He smiled, weak but warm, and it was enough to send tears spilling quietly down Diep's cheeks. James struggled to sit up, hand instinctively rising to his bandaged head. His voice was hoarse but gentle. "I'm okay. Just a minor hit. The doctor said I can be discharged today." Diep said nothing. She simply took his hand in both of hers, trembling, fragile, yet filled with the kind of emotion words could never hold. After leaving the hospital, James didn't return to the city right away. He turned to Diep, his voice soft but steady. "I don't want my mother to worry anymore. Can I stay at your farm for a few days? It's quieter there, and you're there." Diep hesitated for a second, then smiled and nodded. "Of course. Come home with me. There's fresh air, green vegetables, and chicken porridge every morning. Perfect for someone recovering from an injury." She said it playfully, and James chuckled, his first genuine smile since waking up. A few days after they returned to the farm, James's strength began to return. The bruises on his body had faded, and the wound on his forehead was now just a faint scar, like a distant memory. Each morning as he opened his eyes to sunlight streaming through the window and the cheerful chirping of birds outside, he couldn't help but smile. Perhaps this quiet peace was what he had been searching for all his life without knowing it. Diep continued to care for him attentively, but James refused to stay idle. One morning, while she was watering the garden, he stepped out onto the porch, arms crossed, glancing around with a teasing grin. "I'm feeling much better now. Give me something to do, or I might just plant a mango tree right in the middle of the yard out of boredom." His light-hearted tone made Diep laugh. To her, James had always been like that, cheerful, grounded, full of warmth. And in his presence, she felt an unshakable sense of peace. That evening, a soft golden light blanketed the farm. Tomorrow, James would return to his work, back to the world of meetings, schedules, and the endless weight of responsibility. But today, he wanted to hold on to every quiet, precious moment beside Diep. They set the dinner table out on the porch. The evening breeze drifted through, gently swaying the thin curtains. On the table sat a few simple dishes: a bowl of vegetable soup, braised fish, and a small plate of pickled greens. Nothing fancy, yet to them, sharing a peaceful meal together felt like the richest gift in the world. Diep sat across from him, her hands moving quickly as she added more food to his bowl. "Eat up. You'll be busy again tomorrow. No one's going to make you drink lemon water every morning anymore." James laughed, and so did she, their laughter clear and light, blending with the calm hum of the evening. Above them, a few birds flew home, tracing across the amber sky as the sun melted behind the trees. In that moment, James felt his heart grow still, as if every wound, both visible and unseen, was slowly healing in the warmth of her presence. The night breeze drifted softly through the trees outside, carrying with it the steady hum of crickets, a gentle lullaby for the quiet farm. Inside the small room, the warm yellow light filtered through thin curtains, wrapping everything in a tender glow. Diep carefully made the bed, smoothing the sheets, fluffing the pillows, and pulling up a light quilt, creating the familiar line that separated their sides, just as she had done every night before. James stood nearby, eyes gleaming with mischief, his tone playful and teasing. "My head still hurts, you know. And with this blanket wall between us, I might not be able to sleep at all." Diep chuckled softly, turning her back to him, choosing not to answer his joking complaint. Outside, the wind continued its quiet song, and inside that little room, only warmth remained, the kind that lives in silence between two hearts finally at peace. James sat silently in the dark, his eyes glinting with a quiet determination. He knew the fall in the forest wasn't just an accident. Behind it was a hidden hand moving in the shadows. This time, he wouldn't let anyone else decide his fate. But what James didn't know was that the one pulling the strings had already planned the next move. A new storm was coming. Stay tuned for the next episode, where James begins to follow the trail of truth and uncovers that the traitor might be someone much closer than he ever imagined.